Hey moms, it's Nakimi. Welcome to the channel and space for single moms navigating motherhood. And as always, we do not bash the baby daddies because, well, we are here now. So today I want to talk a little bit about bonding with our children and creating those memories over gifting them things. I made a video earlier this year and I talked a little bit about how around the holidays it can be stressful, especially for a single mom. You may have multiple kiddos and you're financially strapped, right? It can be disheartening if you can't provide, all the things on their little list to Santa and or get them Christmas at all, right? That can be a real damper on your mommy parade. But one of the things that I wish that I could do all over again, or if I could do it all over again, I would switch up. I would be focused on creating memories with my daughter. I'm thinking Christmas in Colorado, staycations with activities of where we can kind of discover things, fun activities, for the family to do. Because I also think that kind of contributes to children's curiosity about the world, And if you're anything like me, every year I said, I'm going to start in September with Christmas shopping. I'm going to start looking for things on sale and just kind of get one or two gifts at a time. And unfortunately, it just was not financially feasible for me for a long time. And so December would roll around and there I am with only one paycheck, one free check that month to try to make some things happen. So I know all too well how it can really be stressful. Plus you're wanting to decorate, your place and buy the tree and all the ornaments. You don't want some frappy looking tree or frumpy looking tree, right? So I get it. But if I were you, and now that we have social media, especially because you can Google things and then there are thousands of accounts with, moms posting daily some of the budget friendly things that they do with their children, arts and craft, I would be thinking, what can I do? What memories can I create with my child during the holidays or my children during the holidays? Because the fact of the matter is, they're not going to remember every little bitty gift from every Christmas, right? And then half the time, the toys that you get them, they play with them for a day or two, and then you never see them playing with them again. You've just wasted your money, But creating memories, is something that I would, encourage you maybe to try and focus on if you can. Your financial woes are not going to last always. So, once that money starts rolling in and life start getting good, I would be thinking passports, child, out of America. I've always said it. The military kids, or some people call them military brats, every last military kid that I've met, they are so well-rounded. They're very squared away. Can you imagine like living in Japan or Thailand or Djibouti, Dubai, maybe even Hawaii or, Mexico somewhere or, wherever they were stationed. I'm just throwing out, countries or whatever. But yeah, like I would be thinking passports and traveling. I think it's good for kids to get outside of their hometown or city. Yep. Let them become curious about the world, and to see things outside of just their local metroplex. That's me. Now one of the things that I did do, and I'm just going to throw this out here, okay? When my daughter was about 6 years old, I started the tradition of, because her dad and I were not together, we broke up when she was 2 years old. So she never saw us as a family, right? I wanted her to still experience waking up with her dad on Christmas. So I made that happen. Every other year, she woke up with him. And then, during midday, I would get her. And people would ask me, since I was single, well, aren't you lonely? Or, I think, kids should wake up with their moms on Christmas. Or, oh, I can't see how you do it. I have to have my babies wake up with me. And at first it was an adjustment. But I also knew that he was her parent as well. And I wanted him to experience waking up with his daughter on Christmas morning, And after a while, it's like the years that I didn't have her for Christmas, I got to sleep in that day. My mornings were slow and I could get ready, and you got to put on your best outfit to go sit in the living room, so it became just a thing, for us. Now, I don't know, if you're cool with your co-parenting relationship or situationship with the other parent. And I'm going to say this. Me and my child's father were at odds for many of years. And during this time was one of them. We were not on anyone's co-parenting list or goals, okay, at all. We were beefing heavily, but I think, the good Lord knocked some sense into us during the times that we needed it, right? Come together, draw a truce, hands up, don't shoot, when it came to that little girl of ours. So, yeah, I'm thankful for that. So that may be something, you think about, send the kids with their dad to wake up, get up in the morning and cook your breakfast and have their gifts waiting. You could probably do some last minute gift wrapping, and remember that, if the other parent is, wants to do it and is, I'm not telling you guys about your situation, but it may not be a bad thing to consider. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, bond with your kids all up. I saw on social media where this girl had purchased this large blow up TV screen, and she set it up on her back patio as movie night for her and her child. I just thought that was so creative, so it's things to do that are budget friendly. But I would definitely be thinking about, creating those memories, because the quality time is going to be what your children remember the most. And it's going to be what matters the most when they get older. They're not going to care that you got them a PS5. That's not going to be the highlight of what shapes them, what shapes, their personality and their ethics, so keep that within your purview. And another thing, when you're bonding with your kids and you're establishing that relationship, I know that we like to say, or we live by the code of, I'm not my kid's friend, and these parents are trying to be their children's friends. And I get that, right? You always want to keep that power dynamic. I'm the parent, you're the child. There's a certain level of respect. But I do think that we need to rethink friendship when it comes to our children, because you never want to be in a position where someone can tell your child it's okay to keep a secret from you, or don't tell your mom, or your daughter grows up and she's a teenager now and she's thinking about, she's falling in love with Jadarius, and, she's thinking about Jadarius is pressuring her to lose her virginity, and she's consulting with her homegirls. No, you want her to come to you to talk about the birds and the bees so that you can sit her down and give her game, right? Or your son, the same thing. And I know typically boys will probably feel a little more comfortable with men when talking about the birds and the bees, but you're still going to want your children to come to you before they start to make a decision that could change the trajectory of their lives. And that just doesn't magically happen just because you're mom and they're the kid, And then when your children get older and, they go off to college or whatever, you're going to look forward to their calls to say, hey, mom, let me tell you about what professor, whatever said today. Here's what we're learning. You're going to want to hear their think piece on life and their perspective from an adult. So you're going to want your kids to kind of be close to you or enjoy coming home saying, Mom, can you cook my favorite meal? That's going to be the highlight of being a mom. You're going to sit back and be like, oh, Lord, you're going to feel somewhat of a successful parent, for sure. Yep. So, I think it's okay to be friendly with your children. Draw them in close to you. Have them around. And I know if your children are at that age where they're so clingy, mommy, 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 look, 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 and when you get off of work, sometimes you just want to breathe, insert, Tony Braxton song. Back up off me. I just need to breathe for a second. I get it. But there's going to come a time where those roles are going to be reversed. You're going to want to cuddle and they're going to be like, oh Lord, here she goes again, so the power dynamic, it does flip. So, yeah, for sure. Yep. Travel with your kids. Another thing, I know it's not anything new under the sun, but reading to your kids every night. We got to get back to reading to our children. I know we have iPads and technology and Miss Rachel, hi, babies, and stuff like that. But, get back to that bonding with your babies and reading to them. Junie B. Jones was my baby's favorite books to read, was that Junie B. Jones. Oh, she was a character. But yeah, I had a great aunt that was an educator, and she really pressed upon me, the importance of reading to my daughter every night. And she basically stated that, the kids that she saw that were like super bright in school and sharp, they read a lot and their parents read to them. And so when my daughter I think she's around the age of 7, I would have her read me the book at night. So then she felt like she's reading mommy a book, and I did that all the way, I want to say, up until she was about 10 or 11, maybe. I think 11 is when we stopped reading. And, I would catch her back there reading by herself, so read to your kids. And I started that, when she was, I want to say 1 or 2 years old, and I wish that I had kept it up for as long as I could. But, as they get older, reading a bedtime story is, they kind of grow out of that a little bit. But yeah, for sure, reading to your kids, it takes about 10, 15 minutes of your time at night to tuck your babies in and reassure them that you love them, and read them a book so that they have good things, to think about when they go to sleep, for sure. But that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you are a mom and you like to do activities with your kids, and you are very much a budget-friendly mom and you find all the hacks and stuff, drop us a comment below. Let me know how you guys spend the holidays, okay? To my mommies, you got this, mamas. I love you guys. Till next time. Bye.